Development discussion. RDU holds a workshop on plans to develop 140 acres of nearby land. Hear what residents had to say about those plans and what they hope to see in that area.
Rain returns to the region, making for a wet end to the week. Wind showers will be the heaviest, plus 2 systems in the tropics to keep an eye on.
And 3 new bills passed the State House today. Tonight, we take a closer look at the crackdown on political violence and the potential return of the death penalty.
Well, it is hot. That is the weather headline today, and probably for the next couple of days, highs in the 90s. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley.
I'm Dan Haggerty. Appreciate you being here with us. Come Thursday, the weather headline will likely be rain. And we've got a chance for some storms, even if the forecast could stick around for a few days as well. Kat Campbell joining us now. A 1 out of 5 risk for severe storms this week. We do need the rain, though, Kat.
We absolutely need any rain we can get. And we're headed for a completely different weather pattern. Tomorrow, it's our last drier day of the stretch. Only a 20% chance for rain. And then that chance starts to go up late Thursday. Still pretty scattered Thursday, but cranking up to a 60% chance of rain and storms on Friday. And decent rain chances will likely linger into the weekend as well. Our next weather maker arriving in the form of this cold front, still a little ways away from us, but it gets here late Thursday into Friday. Out ahead of it, it's hot, it's humid, and that amounts to thunderstorm fuel. That's why there could be an isolated severe storm or 2 Thursday. It's the entire state of North Carolina, so a pretty broad risk outlined here for Thursday. Damaging winds the concern. Futurecast showing dry weather throughout the first half of the day Thursday would likely come later in the afternoon hours that we've got some of these scattered storms developing and into the evening as well. And then the weekend forecast presents a challenge, and we're going to keep an eye on a couple of areas that could develop in the tropics. I'll have the new model plots for these coming up.
And this is Carly Haynes in the WRAL breaking news tracker. We're at the scene of a train collision here in Durham, arriving here just minutes ago. We saw some people on the train. They were having to be escorted out. And this is also causing some backups in the area as well. You might be able to see that it's taped off right now. We know that there are roads that are blocked. 9th Street closed at West Main. And then where we're standing right now, this is Swift Avenue closed at West Pettigrew Street. Like I said, we just arrived here. We're still working to get information, so we've reached out to Durham Police asking what the train actually collided into and whether there were any injuries in this. We're going to bring you the latest as soon as we get those details. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, live in Durham.
A handful of popular spots in our area will look a lot different in the future. We have a couple of updates for you on developing stories as our area continues to grow. We want to start with this. It is a plan to redevelop that 140-acre chunk of land that used to be part of Lake Crabtree Park. RDU owns that land, and these are the renderings, some of the ideas of what they would like to do with it. They call it a recreation and wellness destination. It's got zip lines and skating rinks, all that sort of stuff. But before the development can move forward, the people in charge want to hear from you. RDU held a public workshop this afternoon to share its ideas and to listen to some others. Before Carly went out to that train crash in Durham we just talked to her at, she showed up at the workshop in Raleigh.
This workshop is a way for people to learn about the potential plans and give their feedback. So at this input station, for example, people can put a green sticker if they like one of the concepts put forward, or an orange sticker if maybe it's not their favorite. RDU has plans to redevelop nearly 140 acres of land off Aviation Parkway, formerly part of Lake Crabtree County Park. The current vision is an entertainment recreation destination complete with hotels, restaurants, and retail. Developers say they're also looking to incorporate camping and lodging and outdoor gathering spaces. Though some longtime visitors to the park are sad to potentially see some other features go, like mountain biking trails.
Maybe they could put the trails back or restore them, because they were bringing a lot of people to the park.
You could see things like zip lines. A lot of outdoor type activities, I think, is what we're trying to drive for.
RDU, which owns the property, said new FAA requirements make them get fair market value for any land that they lease out, and that's the reason why they've chosen to redevelop it. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, Raleigh.
All right, thank you to Carly. But let's talk about more changes. While that was going on, the city of Raleigh was discussing the next steps to upgrade Fayetteville Street downtown. I know you've heard about this before. Fayetteville Street has seen a lot of changes and redevelopment and that sort of thing over the years. But this latest installment went before the city's Economic Development and Initiative Committee. And here are some of the renderings that they presented today. The plan is to create a streetscape. It starts with expanding the area there for outdoor dining, shifting the walking zone. This would cost about $1 million. Then the proposal is to expand those paved areas even further, adding new furnishing, lighting, art, all that sort of stuff. No cost estimate on that part of it yet. No final decision on any of this either. A final draft is expected to be, a proposal is expected to be drafted a bit down the road, but we'll be watching. Also, a quick update over at the Lenovo Center. The state is actually going to be pitching in some cash to help with the development over there, too. This is the idea of what that will look like when it's complete. Lawmakers approved $35 million to help to fund this project. It was actually included alongside another $65 million in Helene recovery funds.
Let's get you caught up on today's other big headlines. Here are 5 things you should know right now. We're going to start on the campus of NC Central, where prosecutors dropped charges against 3 people connected to a campus protest earlier this year. 2 students and a professor were charged with resisting an officer. The protest was over poor housing conditions on campus. Durham police made an arrest in a deadly shooting this morning. Antonio McDonald was shot to death on Cap Street just before 10 a.m. Police say they have someone in custody, but they have not released their name or what led to the shooting. The North Carolina man accused of trying to kill President Donald Trump last summer was convicted in federal court today. Greensboro native Ryan Ruth faces life in prison. A jury convicted him of attempted assassination, among other things. Ruth staked out Mar-a-Lago with a rifle last summer while Trump was running to win back the presidency. He represented himself during the trial.
What a story here. The city of Rocky Mount faces serious money trouble. A report found the city spent millions more than it had on a monthly basis for 2 years. People in the city now face higher utility bills because of this. The city also plans to cut half of its part-time workers and at least 10% of its full-time employees. We'll be keeping a close eye on this one. Western North Carolina will receive more than $1 billion in federal funding. The U.S. Department of Transportation made that announcement today. It says it is the largest single allocation of money under a federal relief program in DOT history. The Federal Department of Transportation has now given our state nearly $2 billion. Who should be on the hook for health care costs? Will it be insurance companies, health care providers, maybe you? That's the question at the center of these ongoing negotiations between Duke Health and Aetna. And if they can't reach a deal, thousands will need to find a new doctor or just pay them out of pocket. And one of Aetna's biggest clients, remember, is the state of North Carolina. The state health plan just moved to Aetna this year. As WRAL Sean Gallagher shows us, the state is getting ready now for what could be the worst case scenario.
Tens of thousands of people could see the doors to Duke hospitals closed to them in less than a month as it continues to negotiate with Aetna. And one of its biggest clients, the state of North Carolina, is already preparing for a Dukeless future. Only about 3% of the 700,000 state employees use Duke Health, but State Treasurer Brad Briner isn't waiting to come up with a plan for them if Aetna decides to drop Duke.
We have begun to make preparations for them to leave the network.
Plans in place because the state says Duke is not willing to absorb the rising cost of health care.
I want to first be clear that this is a negotiation between Duke Health, a not-for-profit health system, and Aetna, a for-profit health plan. We are not in negotiations with the Treasurer.
Duke Health Executive Vice President Dr. Thomas Owens spoke to me last week about the ongoing negotiations with Aetna and what they're fighting for.
We've not had a rate increase from Aetna in 4 years, despite remarkably challenging economic times for health systems, with inflation for supplies, materials, goods, and labor being remarkably high in the last 4 years.
Even with those difficulties, Duke Health, a nonprofit hospital, made more than $600 million last year. And they have extensive coffers totaling more than $4 billion in investments. And that's a problem for Treasurer Briner.
Duke is more than fine with our existing rates, yet wants to play chicken with our members. This is not the kind of partner we need.
We take a 5% draw every year that we use to support operational costs. The actual direct operations of the health system have required continued investment because our reimbursement has not kept up with the cost of care.
If no agreement is made by the deadline, Briner says the state health plan will still cover those at most risk or with chronic conditions at Duke facilities, at least for some time. In Durham, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
So again, Briner says that part of their preparations include securing primary care at high-quality providers who also operate in Duke's territory. Duke Health is telling WRAL that it can't really comment on these negotiations, but it says that they are asking for what they describe as a modest increase. The deadline for an agreement here is October 20th.
All right, the clock is ticking. Hey, coming up, lawmakers set a deadline for Governor Stein to come up with a way to restart executions on death row. It's part of a crime bill sent to the governor's desk today. We're going to hear where Republicans and Democrats land on bringing back the death penalty and dig into why it's been on pause in our state for almost 20 years. That's coming up in about 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. This is Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center. And all new at 7 o'clock tonight, the Granville County Sheriff's Office says that 2 people accused of child sex crimes are in custody after trying to flee to Mexico. This is Luis Resendez and Joanne Lancaster. Back in March, the Sheriff's Office started investigating, and they say they identified 3 children who were victims. Investigators then learned that the 2 were on the way to Mexico. They were captured in Louisiana and are awaiting extradition.
We owe it to the people in this state to do the right thing. That is your quote of the day, coming from North Carolina House Majority Leader Brendan Jones. That's what he said as lawmakers debated a new state crime bill. The bill passed this afternoon. It's now headed to the governor's desk. It's called Arena's Law. It's named for the young woman who was stabbed to death on a Charlotte train last month. State lawmakers agreed they needed to do something in response. They needed to do the right thing. But they have different ideas of what the right thing is. Here's what the bill does. It enacts stricter rules for bail, improves monitoring of suspected criminals with mental health issues, and it aims to restart executions on death row. And that's the part that lawmakers are split over. Senate Majority Leader Phil Berger tacked on the death penalty stuff yesterday when the Senate debated the bill. North Carolina, hasn't carried out the death penalty in 19 years. This bill basically puts the ball in Governor Stein's court. It calls on his office to come up with a solution to bring back the death penalty, whether by lethal injection, firing squad, or some other method. During the debate in the House today, Republicans supported this. Democrats did not.
The likelihood that we've made a mistake as a state, the likelihood that we've executed an innocent person in the past and could in the future is real, and it's irreversible.
We must take a hard stance on crime. We cannot have the revolving door.
All of this begs the question, what happened to the death penalty in North Carolina? It's still on the books, but why has it been on pause for almost 20 years? Let's take a look at how we got here. Capital punishment has been around for all of human history. The earliest recorded example in North Carolina dates back to 1726. Colonial authorities hanged George Seneca, who pleaded guilty to murder. By 1817, 28 different crimes could lead to the death penalty. Local governments carried it out, typically by hanging. But in 1910, the state took over, performing all executions at Central Prison in Raleigh. That same year, North Carolina started using the electric chair. It was used for the first time on a man from Robeson County. Walter Morrison was executed for rape. In 1936, North Carolina approved gas chambers for executions. Alan Foster of Hoke County was the first. He was executed for murder. By 1983, the electric chair was phased out, and inmates on death row were given the choice of lethal gas or lethal injection. Over the next 15 years, only 2 people chose gas, including Ricky Lee Sanderson, who pleaded guilty to murder. After his execution in 1998, North Carolina got rid of the gas chamber. In the early 2000s, new DNA technology proved multiple people on death row were innocent, including Alan Gell, who was wrongfully convicted of murder. The last time North Carolina carried out the death penalty was in 2006, when Samuel Flippin got lethal injection for murder. A year later, the state medical board ruled lethal injection violated the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. And in 2009, North Carolina passed the Racial Justice Act. It let inmates on death row challenge their sentence if they thought it was racially biased. More than 100 inmates filed a claim. And even though the Racial Justice Act was repealed in 2013, a 2020 court decision ruled those claims could continue. Earlier this year, state lawmakers tried to end the pause on executions. A bill would have made firing squads an alternative to lethal injection. But the bill failed in committee. And so, since the last execution 19 years ago, 38 death row inmates were exonerated or had their sentences commuted. 23 died of natural causes. 122 remain behind bars. And that's how we got here. WRAL's NC Capitol team goes a lot deeper on this issue on our website. More response from lawmakers, the history of the death penalty debate, and one lawmaker's personal story of how hard it can be to get mental health help for loved ones. That's over in the NC Capitol section on WRAL.com.
Ashley, thank you. Meteorologist Kat Campbell joining us now. If you view hurricane season from where we sit here in the Triangle, it seems like it's been pretty quiet. But as we take a look, out into the tropics here, things change a bit.
Absolutely. And, we can't let our guard down just yet. We have seen some pretty notable hurricanes in October. And while at this point it doesn't look like these are going to be those notable hurricanes for us, the one with a 60% chance of developing does bear watching. I can't rule out impacts from this system here at home as we get into next week. The one with a 90% chance of developing a little bit farther out to sea. Model plots are in for these systems today for the first time. And the model plots are kind of all over the place here. This is our first round of them today, the one with the 60% chance of developing. You can see a pretty wide model spread here, but in the meantime, it is likely to bring some unsettled weather and heavy rain to the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Bahamas. The other one more likely to stay out to the sea, but it could bring a threat to Bermuda. For us here at home, regardless of whether or not the orange one gets close to us, we are still probably going to be able to tap into the moisture. The setup that we have for the weekend is this big upper level low, this dive in the jet stream here. This may cut off and dig further to the south, and what would happen is that allows this moisture to wrap around it and get pushed up into North Carolina. So the weekend is trending wet into the early part of next week, but we're going to have to keep an eye on the tropics for you. A live look at downtown Raleigh, a beautiful night as the sun sets. We had 92 today. Right now we're still sitting at 84 degrees this evening at sunset. Patchy fog will be possible in our eastern counties tomorrow morning. 61 in Roxborough, 65 in Raleigh, 62 in Lewisburg, 64 Rocky Mount, and 67 in Fayetteville. The area is circled here in this black dashed line. That's where we could see some fog or perhaps low clouds develop. Our next front getting here at the end of the work week. For now, it's still pretty far to our west, and it is producing some severe weather out in Oklahoma tonight. This is what we're going to be watching for on Thursday. Thursday's storms likely to be more scattered with a better chance for rain perhaps coming on Friday. Friday is still our best chance for rain on our 7-day forecast. High temperatures Friday also backing off a bit finally. 83 Raleigh, 86 in Fayetteville, still in the mid to upper 80s at our southern beaches. Friday, we're also going to have to watch for some locally heavy rain, but at least we get a break from the 90s. These could be our last 90s of the year. The average last 90-degree day is September 12th. We've seen 90s even into the month of October before, but we're coming up on that time of year where we usually get to say goodbye to 90s. Once we get to the weekend, it is continuing to trend wetter, scattered storms ahead. If you have outdoor plans, we've got Football Friday happening. We've got football games for colleges this weekend. Check in for an update tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll get the high-resolution model data for Friday's rain timeline, and then Thursday we should have a better feel for that Friday forecast. For the Saturday forecast, I'm going to be out there at the NC State game, so I'm keeping an eye on it.
All right, fingers crossed. Thank you, Kat. The face of Duke women's basketball is now the face of Team USA basketball. Carol Lawson got the job to lead the national team, and it's our one last thing after the break.
Welcome back to the WRAL Live Center. We have an update on that breaking news in Durham. One man is dead in that crash involving an Amtrak train. I want to show you a video from the scene there. This is over at Swift and Pettigrew Street, also at Main and 9th Street. That crossing is blocked as well. Carly Haynes at the scene says that one man was killed. Apparently, he was wearing headphones as that train crashed. You can see that passengers were on the train. Also, some of them have been moved to a staging area as they work to open that train crossing there. They're not sure when they're going to be able to have everything reopened in Durham. Of course, we'll follow this through the evening.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you. Our one last thing tonight, the head coach of the Duke women's basketball team has been named the head coach of Team USA.
Yes, Kara Lawson will coach the national team through the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. Lawson shared the stage at Cameron Indoor today with Sue Bird, Team USA's managing director, and Lawson's teammate on the 2008 gold medal team.
I mean, it's the number one job in our country, right? At least to me. I guess everyone could have their opinion. To me, to lead your country's national team is the best job there is. And to be selected for that is a great feeling. The belief and the trust the Federation has in me, and Sue specifically, is awesome.
We wish him luck. Lawson's first big tournament will be the Women's Basketball World Cup. Tips off in Germany in September of 2026. Something tells me she's going to do a good job.
Oh, yeah, she's amazing.
Great to have you with us tonight.
Our next newscast is at 10 on Fox 50 and 11 on WRAL. Have a great night.